Hello world, hello world. Yes, this is the story of 18-year-old Nolan Wells. Well, there's a podcaster, which one as you're looking at, who just gave a statement as to what he predicts the grand jury would do. Guess which one said they believe that the grand jury that is, would only charge individuals with tampering with phone evidence. They predict that, again, nobody would be found guilty of murder for killing Nolan. However, they further go into actually predicting that the grand jury, again, will not, I believe, sentence anyone to any time. And again, these findings are based on one's Google search, as the individual just stated. You must take a listen, comment, let me know what you think, bro.
I'm also going to say something that's going to piss the other side off, but I'm just being truthful. And basically, what this lawyer was saying was, there's no way in hell that the state of Mississippi is going to bring murder charges against these young men. Not going to happen. There's no way in hell that these young men killed Nolan Wells and nobody's talking. If they did kill him, there would be no reason to make false audio tapes that sounded like they killed. That's fake. There would be no egregious stories of they took him to a pool party and hit him in the head with a pipe and then put him back on the boat and drove out to Horn Island and dumped his body at Horn Island late at night, even though boats don't have headlights on them. So how do you get to Horn Island? There's no reason to do this because the evidence would be there. There'd be no reason to make it up. But they didn't. That ain't what happened. But here is something that's possible. And I'm saying this, and I usually make videos, and I'll tell you that I'm right, but I'm making this video, and I'm telling you that I hope to God I'm wrong. But I'm preparing y'all for the worst. I'm preparing Mississippi for the worst. And this is what I think might happen. No, those boys will not be charged for murder. However, when they present this to a grand jury, will they return an indictment? And the answer to that is yes. The grand jury will indict these boys. They will not indict them for murder, but what they will indict them for is tampering with evidence. I feel like the state of Mississippi has never had this much national attention. I never dreamed in 1,000 years that Ocean Springs, Mississippi would be on Good Morning America on CNN. But here, not only was they on Good Morning America, they reached out to me, asked me, well, I'm not going to tell you that, but I never thought this much attention would be down here, and neither does the people that sit on the grand jury. And a lot of people are scared, and I believe that some people are scared to come back with anything else and other. We got to find these guys guilty of something, I'm afraid, is the outlook of definitely the black community in Mississippi. I know that for a fact. I would not be surprised if they come back with an indictment of tampering with evidence. I even Googled it and ChatGPT'd it and listened to the podcast and looked up some law definitions today before I made this video and thought about my own personal experience dealing with the justice system in Mississippi. You might have heard otherwise, but the truth is I've never murdered nobody in my life, but I was still indicted for murder in the state of Mississippi. That's a fact. I don't care what y'all say in the comments. I don't care who told you anything different. I don't care what you read on Google. I never murdered anybody, but I still got indicted for murder and manslaughter. I got indicted twice at the same time. Thank God I had a judge, Judge Roger Clark. His son now sits on the bench in Harrison County. They threw one of the indictments out, as they should.
Dude just admitted that he knew a judge and was what reason why one of the charges were actually.
In the case of these boys, I'm just preparing everybody for the worst. They need to be gearing up with the possibility of the grand jury indicting them for tampering with evidence. That's the bad news. Here's the good news.
This dude just admitted that if they're being indicted for tampering with evidence, there has to be some sort of evidence that they tamper with. So whether he's hinting on a cover-up or whether or not this is not a tragedy, if he's trying to convince the public this is what it is, he's foolishly fooled.
They won't be found guilty of it, though. When I was doing research today, in order to be found guilty of tampering with evidence tampering, in order to be found guilty of that, there has to be intent. You have to willingly have intent to tamper with that evidence, to hide or conceal something. And that ain't what happened. These boys drove off with his cell phone by accident, really. You know, some of them just say, hey, Nolan, you're forgetting your cell phone, bro. You want to leave it on the boat? Say, yeah, y'all go ahead. I'll get it from y'all later. And then look, not guilty, right there. Everybody can go home. But let me tell you how this is going to work. The prosecutor may argue to the grand jury that there may not be no malicious intent here. But how do we know if y'all don't indict them and we hold court? We have to take them to trial to get to the truth. And that alone makes me think that the grand jury is going to indict them for tampering with evidence. Because we don't know. Even though the boys are telling you, they're still going to say, we don't know. We don't know if they didn't tamper with it. How do we know he told them his phone was on the boat? How do we know he didn't tell them his phone was on the boat? He didn't intend to tamper with it.
Again, this dude is trying to use a distraction. Again, it's called a red herring. And he's trying to distract from the main idea. Again, the public wants to know, how did Nolan Wells die? And who erased the information on his phone?
With evidence. They just got on their boat that was sinking. They tried to save from sinking. And at that time, they all was worried about a boat sinking. Nolan was worried about getting laid by this Katie girl. Nobody was thinking about cell phones. Nobody. And therefore, there was no intent to conceal or hide a cell phone. But watch what a grand jury does. Watch, a prosecutor could go up there and make a great argument that how do we know that unless you indict them? You have to indict them so we can hold court and have a trial to get to the truth. That's not true. You can find the truth without indicting people, but the prosecutor ain't going to agree with that. And guess what? These boys, a stepmama is a judge, and she knows that. Let's hold court. But the problem with that is you're gambling with their freedom. And I think it's bullshit. But that does not mean that it won't happen. I hope y'all tell me I'm wrong in the comments. I hope there's some lawyers listening. I hope there's some...
Well, world, I can tell you, I'm no lawyer, but he may get his wish granted. And he may be brought up, believe it or not, for defamation for mentioning the fact that Nolan, how dare he say Nolan was thinking about getting laid by Katie, his exact quote. How does he know this? He wasn't on the boat. Again, sir, you may get your wish. Your attorney may be contacting you sooner than later. Comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about this case, cover up or tragedy. Let me know what you think, world. Bye.